Hello, a very brief video for you today to accompany July's recap and review deck. So each month I take the black and white coloring cards that I make to accompany all of our videos. Each month on our Goddess Magic Patreon, I take all those black and white cards and then I make them into these two-color recap and review deck to use to really add to your inspiration oracle that we are creating this year as we move along, and to give you some little pops of color for your art journaling, for your 30 days of Goddess prayer books, etc. Just lots of different ways to use these. I prefer to use them, or I use them as inserts into my replenish book, so I use them not as a bookmark exactly, but as cards to kind of accompany me through the book, especially ones that really speak to me. So my favorite ones will go into the replenish book, and then they accompany me in my daily practices really for the whole year, the favorite highlights from the month's decks. And then so that's how I primarily use them, but also as an oracle, so they can be subdivided into quotes, affirmations, quotes and questions, and then poems and prayers, basically. So affirmations, quotes and questions, and poems and prayers, basically. And then so they can be subdivided into 3 decks and then used as kind of a mix and match inspiration oracle throughout the year. So this year I've been doing kind of a recap and review video. I have a different series, the Space to Steep series, that is unfolding in August. So this is just the brief recap and review deck. So I chose one card from each of the sub decks, which is really how you can use this, as this mix and match kind of oracle. And I'm just going to use that to kind of close out July and welcome August based on what we got. So the affirmation that we received is, I allow things to flourish and finish in their own time. And this was a core affirmation for July, but it's also really perfect for moving into August, because August really is a time of finishing things, but also a time of savoring what is flourishing. And so, like you can see on my deck, there's already dry leaves starting to fall from the mulberry trees, which is also, so there's a mulberry tree right here, but the mulberry tree is also one of the first ones to leaf out in the spring. And so we let things flourish and finish in their own time. We don't say, what are you doing so early, mulberry tree? What are you doing shedding your leaves or growing your leaves? We just allow things to flourish and finish in their own time. And it's a really important lesson that can be applied to our own lives. Like, how do we let things flourish and finish in their own time? And then the card, the quote and question card that we got, is this one. When we accept what we have, whether or not we like it, there is no longer disappointment or tension from not having what we want or not wanting what we have. In the absence of this tension, we have greater access to the creative energy of life. In the absence of this tension, we experience peace. And from this peaceful space, joy arises. From this peaceful space, joy arises. And I always like to be clear when I share quotes about acceptance, is that acceptance does not mean you then don't act to change something. So you can accept that something bad is happening, and then you can take steps to change it. It doesn't mean, oh, something's bad's happening, so I just have to say that's okay, or there's bad things happening in other parts of the world and I just have to accept them and move on with my life. No, we accept that something bad is happening and then we choose from there. We accept that something bad is happening and then we choose from there. And that is rooted in the idea I got from Wayne Dyer about not arguing with reality. Like, instead of saying, I can't believe this is happening, or no, this can't be happening, or I'm so miserable because this is happening, or I can't stand that this is happening, or I'm freaked out that this is happening. Once we accept that something is happening, we can take steps to cope with it, change it, work with it, whatever it is that needs to happen next. So the acceptance is where the peace arises, and then where joy arises from there, or there's space for joy and creativity. So I like that. When the absence of tension, we have greater access to the creative energy of life. And so, easier said than done. Everybody has some tension. Everybody has things that need to change. Everybody has little quirks of personality. Everybody has things they worry about, etc. But this is a valuable life lesson to carry on. And so then the questions that go with it are, where am I feeling tension or disappointment? How might I let go? And then some affirmations there too. I accept my own life. I accept my own life. There's a lot of, so for example, I'm just going to give an example for my own life, is that My house has lots of cluttered, disorganized spots in it. We have a busy life. We have 4 kids. We have a business. We have big boys who are home from college. There's a lot of stuff kind of heaped up and sort of disorder in the household living space. And so I can come in the door and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe we've got all this stuff all over. You know, something needs to change immediately. We've got to get rid of all these things and ah. Or I can accept this is how our house looks at this point in the life when we have 6 people in the same space and big boys home from college and kids who still play with toys and get things out, and a multitude of hobbies and interests and things we like. And instead of looking at that as a sense of, shame or failure or what's wrong with us, we can say, aren't we fascinating, amazing people? And actually, I can just take a deep breath and let go of thinking that the house should be any different than it is right now at this phase in our own life story. So accepting your own life can be very powerful, particularly if you're struggling with something or if you're shaming and blaming yourself about something. If there's something that's not changing and you're telling yourself kind of a mean story about it or about your own character or about your own life, How to Keep House, the author of How to Keep House While Drowning says, housework, care work is moral. Housework is morally neutral. Like there's nothing. It's morally neutral. We don't need to add these value judgments on top of whether or not you have a pile of books by the door that you've been meaning to take to give away and you haven't done it yet. That's morally neutral. And so anyway, accepting your own life can be very powerful instead of struggling with or shaming and blaming yourself about it. I am open to what is. I allow peace to find a place, and I allow joy to arise. And so then there's 2 more. This one's kind of a practice and a prayer, and then also just a thank you. I feel like our month with Kuan Yin has been really powerful. The compassion practices and the sinking into allowing yourself to lay your hand against your heart and say, Kuan Yin, fill me with compassion, has really been just a powerful, so simple of a practice, but so powerful of a practice. So I want to honor and thank Kuan Yin for having guided our practices in July, and then as we step into August, maybe carry this compassion practice with us. So a brief prayer, but also a practice here. Kuan Yin, Mother of Mercy, fill me with your boundless love. Guide my hands to serve, my words to comfort, my presence to heal. Thank you. And then the closing prayer that I picked for us. And this one is one of the compilation prayers. So every week after I do our community practice lives, I make a compilation prayer based on everything that we talked about. So there's pieces, you'll recognize things in here that are sometimes quotes or pieces from other authors because I share quotes each week. And so then I weave pieces of that philosophy or that aspect into the week's prayer or blessing or closing. And so you'll see some of those things reflected there. But I love how this works. And so this one I never actually ended up reading during one of our community practices, so it's a perfect time to share it now. May you be blessed with the courage to be fully present, the wisdom to listen deeply, the grace to sit in compassionate ease. Blessings to the web weavers. May your fingers bleed with honest effort. May your heart remain soft and wild. May you find magic in the ordinary moments. You are a sacred thread woven into the great quilt of humanity, sparkling with enchantment, rooted in your own inherent worth. May you remember you are not here to be perfect, but to be real, not to ascend, but to descend into the rich, wild landscape of your own being. May you breathe deeply, listen tenderly, love fiercely, stitch the worn places with compassion. You are enough exactly as you are, a drop of the oceanic, a wild creature, a living poem. May you walk in beauty. May you trust your own original signal. May you mend the tears in life's delicate web, one breath at a time. May you mend the tears in life's delicate web, one breath at a time. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I really appreciate you. Thank you for making space to think deeply, to share wholeheartedly, and to live wildly and passionately and with compassion, intention, purpose, and presence. Thanks for being here. Keep living your magic. Bye-bye.